On February 22, BYD announced on its official website that it would establish its first new energy vehicle production base in Europe in Szeged, Hungary. The reported investment in Szeged by BYD is expected to reach €5 billion, about 40 billion yuan. This marks the first production base built by a Chinese automaker in Europe, equipped with advanced production lines. As early as 2009, Huawei set up its European Supply Center and Logistics Center in Hungary. Currently, Huawei's logistics center in Hungary is the largest outside of China. In 2022, contemporary Amperex Technology Co. Limited, CATL, the world's largest manufacturer of new energy vehicle batteries, announced an investment of 58.22 billion yuan in Hungary, setting a record for the largest single investment in Hungary. In 2021, Huawei's Hungarian subsidiary collaborated with Hungarian East-West Intermodal Logistics and Vodafone Hungary to build the first 5G smart rail port in Europe, aiming to become the largest intelligent multimodal rail hub in Europe. However, Hungary is currently facing various disturbances due to its lack of support for EU sanctions against Russia and its opposition to EU decoupling from China, making Orbán stand out in the EU. According to multiple foreign media reports, the EU decided to initiate accession negotiations with Ukraine on December 14, going against Hungary's wishes. In front of EU officials, German Chancellor Scholz told Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán that he could leave the venue if he disagreed. However, that night, the EU summit voted on the €50 billion, 393 billion yuan aid plan for Ukraine. Orbán's opposition vote led to the failure of the plan. Moreover, Orbán advocates for Europe to set clear boundaries with the United States and promote China-Europe cooperation, stating, "If Europe insists on decoupling or risk avoidance policies, it will harm China-Europe cooperation, and we will miss the window of opportunity for further development." In the face of the turbulent international situation, Orbán is one of the few heads of government in the EU who supports a multipolar international order. Under his strong promotion, logistics and supply chain cooperation between China and Hungary has gradually deepened, opening up new chapters. Viktor Orbán, born on May 31, 1963, has been the Prime Minister of Hungary since 2010 and the leader of the Fidesz party. In the early 1980s, he participated in anti-communist political activities and became a founding member of the Fidesz party during the political transition in 1989. After the end of his first term as Prime Minister from 1998 to 2002, he successfully led the party's transformation and was re-elected chairman in 2003. In 2005, he led the Fidesz party to win parliamentary elections and became Prime Minister. After the 2006 elections, he resigned from the position of Prime Minister, focusing on political restructuring and conservative development. He led the party to win the parliamentary majority again in the 2010 elections, and has been the dominant force in Hungarian politics ever since. Known for his firm nationalism and anti-immigration stance, Orbán has criticized some decisions of the European Union, causing controversy with his political style and policy positions, drawing international attention. Hungary has historically been part of Europe and is a member of the European Union and NATO, considered part of the West. However, Orbán's unique views on Sino-European and Euro-American relations, different from most Western countries, suggest that blindly following the United States and decoupling from China will bring adverse consequences to Hungary and Europe. 1. China-Hungary relations. On December 21, 2022, Orbán held a media meeting in Budapest, Hungary's capital. The annual media meeting is almost the only occasion in the year when Orbán faces international and local media alone. When answering reporters' questions, Orbán stated that in recent years, China has gradually replaced Germany and the United States as Hungary's largest source of investment. Chinese companies have created a large number of job opportunities and social value in Hungary. He hopes Hungary can increase its investment in China and further strengthen economic and trade cooperation between Hungary and China. Orbán believes that decoupling from China is a huge mistake and that every effort must be made to establish the closest economic relationship between Hungary and China. He emphasized, China is not only a consumer but also a creator of the world's most advanced technology. China's core technology surpasses ours. Hungary needs this expertise, as well as the industrial chain and skills based on this knowledge. China-Europe relations. On May 23 this year, Orbán reminded the other 26 EU countries at the Qatar Economic Forum not to decouple from China. Orbán said, "More and more European countries are inclined to avoid risks or decouple from China, while Hungary firmly supports maintaining connections and communication with China." Orbán believes that both decoupling and risk avoidance are mistakes that do not align with Europe's interests, either possible nor necessary. He stated, if Europe insists on decoupling or risk avoidance policies, it will harm China-Europe cooperation, and we will miss the window of opportunity for further development. Euro-American relations. Orbán emphasized at the Qatar Forum that Europe does not need to blindly follow the United States' policy toward China. Instead, internal dialogue and coordination of positions should be carried out. He warned that European countries relying on NATO would be equivalent to handing over the future to the United States. Europe would lose its autonomy, industrial competitiveness would decline, and capital would flow to the United States. Some European heads of state support Hungary, believing that decoupling from China is part of the US strategy to harvest Europe. French President Macron seeks more independent policies, actively engaging with China and India, and participating in the BRICS summit to explore new paths for the EU economy. Finally, let's introduce the situation of deep technical cooperation in the China-Hungary supply chain. On October 18, Orbán went to Shenzhen to meet with Huawei founder Ren Zhengfei and BYD founder Wang Chuanfu, laying the foundation for the docking of the manufacturing supply chain between China and Hungary and ushering in deep technical cooperation. Point 1. Huawei in Hungary, owning the largest logistics and manufacturing base outside of China, the Huawei European Supply Center, with over 2,000 employees covering manufacturing, logistics, and R&D. At the Shenzhen headquarters, Orbán had in-depth discussions with Ren Zhengfei and Martin Nagy on the long-term impact of digitization on society, the economy, and security. Huawei plays an important role in Hungary's digitization process and is one of the first Chinese companies to make significant investments in Hungary. Point 2. BYD in Hungary. Orbán visited the Guangdong Development Exhibition and met with BYD founder Wang Chuanfu. BYD has already started selling electric vehicles in Hungary, becoming the first automaker in Central and Eastern Europe to do so. Hungarian customers can now place orders, and distribution is handled by cooperating dealerships Wallace Motor and Duna Auto. Plans are underway to establish at least 20 dealerships within the next 2 years. Point 3. Contemporary. Amperex Technology in Hungary, CATL plans to invest approximately €7.34 billion in establishing a new energy battery industry base in Debrecen, Hungary. The project will build a 100 GWh power battery system production line, making it CATL's second factory in Europe after the one in Germany. Secretary Searle stated that CATL's investment is one of the most noteworthy projects in Hungary. This deep cooperation marks the beginning of a new era for the manufacturing industry in China and Hungary, opening a new chapter in supply chain collaboration. In conclusion, let's summarize for the readers. hoping you gain insights and reflections. In this video, we delved into Hungary's development in areas such as new energy vehicles and the 5G smart rail port, gaining insights into Prime Minister Orbán's unique perspectives on Sino-European and Euro-American relations. This gives us an opportunity to reflect and ponder, extracting important insights and reflections. Firstly, the deepening of China-Hungary supply chain cooperation signifies the continuous evolution of international manufacturing cooperation. Cooperation in fields such as new energy vehicles and 5G technology not only propels Hungary's economic development but also brings mutual benefits to China and Europe. This prompts us to consider that in the era of globalization, cooperation between countries can bring more opportunities for economic development, beneficial to the long-term interests of all parties involved. Secondly, Prime Minister Orbán's unique insights on Sino-European relations remind us that blindly pursuing decoupling or risk avoidance policies may harm Europe's overall interests. He emphasizes the opportunities for China-Europe cooperation and urges European countries not to overlook their economic connections with China. This raises a question for consideration. In the current international situation, should countries advocate for cooperation or maintain unilateral policies? Lastly, the internal dynamics within the EU mentioned in the article, as well as Orbán's opposition to the EU's aid plan for Ukraine, make us realize the existence of divisions within Europe when facing major decisions. Does this foreshadow the complexity of international relations and the impact of internal factors on political and economic connections between nations in the era of globalization? At this moment full of variables, let's contemplate these questions, explore the possibilities of international cooperation, and envision how each country's role on the global stage will shape the future. We look forward to how future developments will influence international relations and hope that each country finds its path to development in this diverse world. What do you think? Given the current international background, should countries advocate more for cooperation or maintain unilateral policies? Share your thoughts with us, and let's collectively ponder the possibilities for the future. That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for the next exciting content, and see you next time. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.